Good evening, everyone. My name is Xavier Santiago. I'm calling our executive committee meeting to order. It is Thursday, October 9th, at 6:38 p.m. We're joined by our district manager, Angel Mescain. Wanted to take a moment for a moment of silence for the lives that are lost right now in the Middle East, and just take a moment to hold all their families and loved ones that are lost in prayer. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, we're going to observe a few ground rules. CB11 members, if you have a question or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand. And wait to be recognized. You should not engage in back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. There is a raise hand function in the chat. If you have technical difficulty, click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. Members should not engage in back and forth discussion. It makes it difficult for everyone to hear each other and for the owl to focus. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. Again, CB11 business or questions about agenda topics should be made on the record when recognized. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have any questions or comments about the subject on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. We will forward as many questions and answers as time allows us. And with that, please call the roll.
Jose Altamirano.
Present.
Stephanie Arroyo.
Here.
Dan Brihan.
Here.
Jessica Elliott.
Present.
David Giordano. John Green.
Here.
Giselle Malave.
Present.
Nelson Rama.
Here.
Xavier Santiago.
Here.
Isaac Scott.
Here.
Jason Villanueva. Michelle Wiltshire Clement.
Here.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much. The meeting for tonight's agenda was distributed in advance. If there is no objection to adopting the agenda as submitted, please raise your hands if you wish to object to adopting the agenda. Seeing no hands raised, the agenda is officially adopted for today's meeting. Approval of the meeting minutes. The minutes were distributed in advance of the meeting. If there are any questions, please raise your hand. Otherwise, if you wish to object, please raise your hand as well. So none, the minutes are officially adopted from last, the emergency executive meeting and from last month's meeting as well. Thank you. All right, announcements. Union Settlement is hosting a financial literacy workshop series in collaboration with CB11. The workshops will be held at Corsi Houses. There are 7 East 116th Street, basement level from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. on the following dates: 10/25 will be taxes, 11/1 borrowing, 11/8 insurance, 11/9 retirement investing basics. Admission is free to attend. RSVP at https://eastharlemalliance.org/upcoming-events. Any other announcements? Yes.
Just want to remind everyone that the full board at the start of the business session will be the last time that you can nominate any of your fellow board members for a position. If you want to nominate, please make sure that you send the nomination form to cb11elections@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay. Informational updates? Any informational updates? Okay, the only thing I did have is real quick informational update before we get the presentation. We just had Borough Board today. Big topic of conversation was cannabis and the licensing. I want to say to them, and I have spoken to Isaac and several others about like trying to pierce this veil and them not taking. Everyone has the same complaints that they didn't mirror the model from SLA. And one thing that CB1 is doing to share with you is that they're automatically rejecting and asking for a 30-day extension. That's their autopilot, so then it affords them that additional time. So that was one of the primary discussions that we dealt with today. So thank you. Thanks. We have a presentation on U.S. Census data. Julie Golden, Data Dissemination Specialist from U.S. Census Bureau.
Hi everyone. I'm Jolie. Angel. Okay. Thank you so much.
Before you jump in, thank you for your patience in getting on our agenda.
No, I'm so excited to be here. I have 10 minutes to hopefully intrigue you enough about US Census Bureau data that we can do something longer, either virtually or in person, where you can actually learn a little more. So. Awesome. So I was a partnership specialist in 2020. I spent 2.5 years helping to motivate communities and to work partnering with a number of community boards and the borough president, et cetera, to get out a complete and accurate count. And I want to thank everyone here because we couldn't have had that complete and accurate count without community leaders like you. I am now one of 35 data dissemination specialists throughout the country. In 2020, I was one of 1,500 partnership specialists. We still keep working between the decennial census. Go to the next slide, and keep going because let's make the most of our time together. So in terms of the Bureau, we're the largest statistical agency. We do 130 surveys and multiple censuses. That happens, the decennial census every 10 years, the American Community Survey every year. We're collecting data. So if someone knocks on your door and you think, but it's not the census this year, it could be the American Housing Survey, it could be the American Community Survey. And we just finished the economic census. So that data about businesses, which we do every 5 years, will come out next year. Next slide. We used to say $675 billion was dependent on the fund, on the numbers that we collected for the decennial census. Now we say $2.8 trillion. So that's the importance of that annual count, and it also informs the number of representatives that we have in each state. Does anyone know who lost a job? Like who was out of a job last, after the 2020 count? Unfortunately, we lost how many seats? One seat, leading to a runoff between Nadler and Mahoney, right? Right. Okay, next slide. So we all know that decennial census is important. Let's move to the American Community Survey because that's the data that I want to share with you. Some of that today. So that's what used to be the long form. It used to be 1 in 8 people got a really long questionnaire for the census through till the year 2000. Then starting in 2005, we did this survey every year. We send it out to 3.5 million households, and then we release that data annually. So it covers 35 topics. Next slide. And you can look at all of these geographic areas. The one we're going to look at today is public use microdata area. That will show you data for Community Board 11. It maps nearly just to the boundaries of CB11. Let's keep going. So you'll get the full deal if you spend 45 minutes with me, but I'm giving you my top 10 minutes here. Sometimes people want to know, what's your menu? What do you have? Well, we have data on all of these different topics, and you can search for that data in our tool data.census.gov. And it's not hard, it's just easier if someone sort of walks you through it the first time. Okay, next slide. So I took just a snapshot. I looked at one of our tables and I mapped this just simply using Excel. And I took gross rent as a percentage of household income. This is a very, very big topic. You see this a lot in the news, where renters were paying 35% or more of their annual household income in rent in your coverage area of Community Board 11. And what you see is it ranges from 2016 to a little under 35% of all renters were paying over 35% of their household income in rent, to currently in 2022, about 46%. That is a monumental number. It's a problem throughout the country. It's an even more difficult problem when you're talking about densely populated, expensive cities like New York City. So that's just one example of the type of income that the type of data you can pull. On the next slide, I did a little map that showed the total number of housing units on top as compared to those people who are paying 35% or more. So the orange line, which hovers a little around 2017, oh, I mapped that backwards,
Oh,
sorry
yeah,
guys.
that's
We're
why.
starting with 2022 on the left, so that's the higher number. So it's about 25,000 of the 51,000 units in your CB11 district are those renters are paying 35% or more of their household income in rent. On to the next. Has anyone, have you, I forgot to survey everyone, have you used census data before? Have you, I know Xavier that you looked at it before, have you accessed it? There are different ways to access it. The easy way is something called the census narrative profile. If you have a phone and you look for census narrative profile, I know some of you have done this exercise, you can search by your address and it'll spit out a whole bunch of data related to the census tract, the borough. It doesn't get to Community Board 11 on that tool. So to get that specific Community Board 11 data, next slide. Keep going. This is the example I use, searching for 1664 Park Avenue. That's an example of if I pulled that census narrative profile. This is specifically commuting to work. There's a super high percentage right in the census tract, which is about anywhere between 4,000 and 10,000 people, usually on average 4,000 people. So it's the immediate area surrounding this building. Take public transportation to work. We recently added a worked from home question. So now that data is showing up. But there are a whole bunch of different statistics, and you could, if you were doing a presentation and you wanted to show data about something from that narrative profile, you could copy and paste it. It is free, it is yours. It's helpful if you credit the Census Bureau. Next slide. So let's see if I can jump on here. So just to give you a little demonstration, how am I doing on time? Hopefully I have about 3 minutes. I want to show you searching for the top 10 census tracts in New York City Community Board 11's district with the highest population enrolled in K-12. I'm giving you a choice. We can look at dense school population enrolled in K-12, or we can look at SNAP benefits. What does everyone want to see?
SNAP benefits.
See SNAP benefits. Okay, that was around me. Yes. Okay, now,
Go on the Zoom there and share from there. I'll stop sharing.
okay, Zoom. Okay, there's everyone, Angel. This looks good. I'm going to share my screen. Here I am. Do you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Bear with me. I can do it. We're here.
There you go.
Okay, we're here. So I'm going to pull up data.census.gov. And I want to show you the census tracts, because those are smaller, smaller areas of focus. I could show you data for the whole district, but let's look at census tracts. And then we're going to add in the border and the boundary of the Community Board 11 district. So you'll be able to see the tract data within the district. So right here, there's a general search, but I'm going to go to advanced search. And I'm going to look at, is it moving in real time, hopefully? Okay, I'm going to look on the left. This is my navigation bar. I'm going to click all geographies because I want this public use microdata area. And you'll see why. You'll see why I want no, I don't want public use microdata area. I want census tract. I want the smallest geography that I'm going to search for. So I'm looking for census tract. And I'm going to scroll down. I kind of have to go down this yellow brick road of going to New York. And then going to What county are we in? New York County, thank you. What county is Brooklyn?
King.
Excellent. Staten Island?
Richmond County.
Ah, there you go.
We don't
This is
speak
what
of
I
those
like.
counties here. It's kind of suspicious that you have that information. I'm gonna keep my eye on you. sir.
What board he should.
Yeah.
Here, see how I
think
click
I was
all
just wondering
census tracts
before.
within New York County? And then on the left-hand side where it shows filters, that data is now, that's in there. And I'm gonna look for 2021, because the 2022 census tract data for the American Community Survey hasn't been released yet. That's coming in December. Okay, so 2021, and then my topic is SNAP benefits, but when I look here, I don't see SNAP, but I see income and poverty. So let's go there. And I'm gonna look at income and earnings and click on SNAP. You can see that there are a whole bunch of different ways to search. This is because when you put in like a general search, you could get 1,000 or 2,000 tables. But we know we want something pretty specific. We're looking for SNAP benefits. And now, lo and behold, here it is. My SNAP benefits come up, my table S2201. And let's say you like this table. You can write down the number. When you search again, you could search by that number. And then it looks like, oh my goodness, it looks like we're dead in the water, but we're not. Because here we go. This is my trick for you. We're gonna click open the table. And now hundreds of census tracts have loaded. That's how powerful this tool is. I'm gonna get rid of I'm gonna minimize this and I can see a lot of data. And what I wanna see here, here's my SNAP benefits, and I can look at my SNAP benefits in a bunch of different ways. But because this is a giant spreadsheet, let's map it. Let's map our data. And luckily I'm not drawing this map, but this is kind of where art meets science, like the table, the data is populating within the map, right? It takes a second. And now I'm gonna go to here where it says classes. No, I'm gonna go here, which says boundaries, sorry. And we're gonna put that, anyone remember the name of our geography? I know it doesn't like roll over off your tongue. Yes, PUMA for public use microdata area. So think PUMA. So there it is. So where's community boards 11? Blue. It's coming, right? Here we go. Here's community board 11. So you can see here are all the census tracts. Let's say I wanted to find out more about this particular area. I could click on that census tract and I'd see that 47.8% of households in that tract are accessing SNAP. But what I think is interesting to look at is to look here. I can pull down all the different variables that were in that table. And I can look at households below the poverty level. Hold on. But I can look at households below the poverty level who are not accessing SNAP. Wow. And that's by percent. So this shows you by percent. So you can look at different percentage numbers. So for whatever reason, there are people who are eligible for these benefits, but they're not getting them. I can't tell you the how and the why. I can't tell you if it's a language barrier. I can't tell you I can't tell you what it is. I can only tell you that if you looked in these geographies, but then you could also pull down this variable list and look at number instead of percent. So let's say if you wanted to see the highest numbers of people who could be accessing those SNAP benefits. You could see them. I just want to make sure. Yeah, it still says below the poverty level. And that's the number. So this is I'm sharing with you, this is one example of many different topics that you can look at. It's always, you can also look at tables that might have, a lot of different a lot of different. These DP data profile tables may have a lot of different characteristics, so we were looking at housing before. We could look at housing characteristics, and this is the table that I actually looked at. This is for the United States, but we could search just for CB11 and see all of these different housing characteristics. Mapping the data, as you saw, I did it in a couple of minutes. Yeah, does it help if I lead, you know, we can do exercises with steps for those of you who might be interested for your committees. But I think I'm probably at time. How are we doing?
Yeah, we're
Okay,
there.
does anyone have any questions?
Yes, Jess.
I was just curious, I've been using Esri Data Tapestry, and I think that uses census data, but how would you compare the two?
It's a third-party tool. We power some of our data tools using Esri. So for example, we have a broadband access dashboard, but that doesn't get you the Puma geography. You just have to know when you're using those tools, you just want to make sure you're using the geography that's going to get you the approximate data area that you're looking for.
Okay, great.
But a number of, so there are many, many different websites and third-party applications that will take census data, like New York City Population Fact Finder, and basically use a bridge to import it into their software. And sometimes it's easier, you know, than some of what we offer, but sometimes it's not as up to date. So when we release that data in December for all the census tracts, basically all geographies for the American Community Survey, it's immediately available. Whereas New York City Population Fact Finder, which is wonderful and shows all the community boards, will usually lag behind by at least 6 months. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope to have more time with you another day.
Oh, hold on, one more question.
Sure.
Hi, I know that at one point you had said, okay, well, these are all the people that stated that they are in this particular area that do not use cars to go to work. However, because they were also asked probably that, oh, are you on some sort of government assistance? Because that was the track that we were going through. With that, they're not supposed to have a vehicle. So the question that was asked afterwards, do you use your car to go to work? And if they're not supposed to have a car, they would automatically answer no. So there is a room for extreme error, I would say, in the numbers that might have been.
There's always room for error. At the same time, these are estimates based on a certain sampling across the country and in every county that we cover every year. The people who are reporting the data, they don't even have to put their name on the survey. They don't have to put their name. They can say, I'm person one at this address. It's not, there's no, their data is protected by law. So there's no administrative tie back to other agencies or local agencies, or sometimes we also use aggregate administrative data to help with some of our work. But there could be room for error, but it also could be some of those areas have higher poverty rates, and they may not need a car, and they may not be able to afford a car. If we looked at an area in the middle of the Midwest where you need a car and it's still high poverty, you'd see those privately owned vehicle rates shoot up. There's also even data by how people park. So it's transportation is really important, and absolutely there is room for error, but we do guarantee our data at a rate of 90%.
Okay, that's.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Just
very much.
As a general comment, it's very important for us to participate in the census. I was out there with several others, I think Don Sanders, CB12's turnout rate was through the roof. We had to fight to get people to participate and convincing them that it is anonymous. You don't have to put your name down, get its resources. So, yes.
I just wanna add, I was one of those people.
Oh, you were there too, that's, yes,
Going knocking on doors.
yes.
Thank you very much.
This,
Thank
the
you,
more,
thank
the
you.
more, the larger the sample, the better the data. Thank you very much for, and I think we'll have a conversation about it.
Impressive website.
Sounds
Uh,
good.
Wonder amount of
Next
data they
up
have there. That's like a
is an
frontier.
informational presentation. Next up is an informational presentation regarding the statewide right to counsel. Alex Young, from Right to Counsel NYT Coalition is with us. Alex,
How are you doing? That's a question.
That one was a important one in the work for a couple months.
Commissioner of committee? What committee?
Yeah, exactly.
It hits them all.
Alex, the floor is yours for your presentation. We have allotted for you, about 10 minutes or so.
I thought I saw him.
Brian, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Do you have our presentation or do you want me to share my screen?
It'd be easier if you could share your screen.
Sure. So I'm Brian Potino. I am a tenant organizer with Catholic Migration Services and the Right to Counsel Coalition. And we're joined also by Alex Young from Right to Counsel Coalition. Wait, let me just move this into present mode. Alex, I think, is just finding a good space to take this call. But yeah, so this presentation is about our efforts to expand and defend Right to Counsel. Right to Counsel Coalition is a tenant-led coalition, which is fighting the injustices in housing court. So in 2017, we mobilized tenants to come together to pass the first Right to Counsel law in the country. We noticed an issue where tenants were systemically not being represented in housing court, whereas landlords always had legal representation, which led to a power imbalance and evictions. We came together to pass this Right to Counsel law, and in the first 2 years after it was implemented, we collected statistics that show that 84% of tenants with Right to Counsel stayed in their apartments. So Right to Counsel was working, and we are now on the next stage of our fight, which is Right to Counsel has been rolled back. So we're fighting to uphold it and expand it throughout the state. So basically, because the courts are run by the state government, they have no obligation to uphold our city law, which is why we are, one reason why we're hoping to pass this legislation on a state level. It would require that the state courts uphold city law as well as expand this right to an attorney throughout the state. And then we're also separately advocating for this defend Right to Counsel legislation that would just directly target this issue of the state courts not upholding the city law. So, sorry, I'm just moving this. So yeah, so what's going on? Why do we need to defend the right to counsel? So, I mean, this is basically actually what I just shared, but it has to do with the calendaring of cases. And OCA, the Office of Court Administration, which is a state agency, is continuing to calendar eviction cases, even though tenants don't have the right to counsel. And tenants are going in front of judges, and I'm in housing court, so I'm seeing this every few weeks when I go there, and they're asking, hey, I need more time, I need to get an attorney, I should have this right under this law that was passed in 2017. And sometimes judges are giving a few adjournments to give some tenants more time to look for an attorney, but the issue is there's not enough attorneys. Housing organizations like mine don't have capacity to represent all the tenants who are being evicted at this current pace. And rather than slow down court cases to accommodate, the court is continuing to push through. And we're seeing tenants being evicted at the highest rate now since like pre-pandemic times. So we've been actually in the courts and doing some court solidarity actions. If I could go back, like this one with Hani Chandra, who's a Queens tenant. She was being evicted for non-payment of rent because she lost her job during the pandemic as a cook, as a private chef. She applied for she applied for state funding, but it wasn't enough to cover her arrears. The court didn't care that she didn't have a lawyer. They were still moving forward with the case. It was only when we came together as a coalition, we showed up, about 15 of us in court by her side, that the court system started noticing us, that the court attorney was like, okay, well, maybe we can give you an adjournment to another day where Hani can be connected with legal representation. But this is only because we fought for this. And for the vast majority of tenants, they're not receiving their right to counsel. 36,000 tenants since January 2022 have not received their, have gone unrepresented in housing court. And that's what we're aiming to address. These are just some more statistics. I shared some of these. Families with children under 18 account for nearly half of attempted evictions, while making up only 28% of New York City's households. Yes, and I can confirm that anecdotally in housing court, lots of families are being evicted. And if we don't uphold right to counsel, are at risk of entering the shelter system or living on the streets. Alex, are you there yet?
Yes, I finally found a semi-quiet spot. I'm so sorry, you guys. I think Brian's probably been holding it down. Thank you, Brian. We hope. Did you get to the all the slides, Brian?
We're talking about statistics now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that first bullet, I was actually part of that. So 15% of tenants last year were targeted for eviction, and I was dragged into court, and I did get a right to counsel lawyer. By some miracle, it took around 63 days. But relatively speaking, I guess that's fast compared to people who are told no, and they just don't get a lawyer at all. So, but yeah. I think one sobering statistic is that people are at risk of eviction and they don't even have $500 in savings. And this was research done by a think tank partner of ours called Stout Rezius Ross. So yeah, I was one of the targeted tenants last year. On to you, Brian.
Thank you. So as I mentioned before, right to counsel works. Here are some statistics showing that right to counsel is a proven tool to lower the amount of evictions and keep people in their homes, not only in New York, but across the country.
Oh, yeah. So in summary, the two bills are slightly different. One is borrowing from the other. Right to counsel has to be defended in New York City because of the court's attitude towards the local law, and it needs to be expanded to all of New York State. The status quo needs to change. 94% of landlords show up with a lawyer to court, and only 1% of tenants do. And it's so bad upstate that some local people just call it eviction court, and they go and they expect to lose. Like, you go there and you lose. That's like the expectation. And then yeah, so as of last month, our statewide tracker, it's called the Eviction Defense Monitor, it tallied around 175,000 tenants that landlords were trying to actively evict. And I guess if you get this slideshow individually, the committee members, whenever you feel like, you can just click on my personal story. You can see me there in that picture next to Brian. And yeah, next slide, please.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, at least we have some form of a right to counsel in New York City, but in so many places throughout the state, there's just no representation. So thank you for taking the time to hear us.
Yeah, and whenever you feel like, you can look at what other community boards have written. Some of them did letters, some of them did resolutions, and so whichever, if you feel like supporting us, whichever one is fine. We don't have a preference, and we know that CB3 and CB6 are coming because we met with them, and we're actually meeting with CB9 right now as we speak. Another colleague is presenting to CB9. And we're just so happy to share this important info with you.
Thank you. Questions, Jess and then Nelson.
Thank you for your presentation. I just was hoping to get clarity. You said there are two bills, one for the expansion of right to counsel to the state level, and what was the second one?
It is a single purpose bill that mandates adjournments because we asked the Chief Judge, Rowan Wilson of the Office of Court Administration, and he basically, I wasn't part of those meetings, maybe Brian was, but the judge, he said that he wouldn't issue an administrative order, because if he did, then that single purpose bill wouldn't be necessary, but he's made his stance pretty clear, and so we're gonna forge ahead.
Yeah, we had an action targeting Judge Wilson the other day because he could wake up tomorrow and decide to pause all cases until tenants have their right to counsel. But he's moving forward in violation of city law. So this last resolution, I'm sorry, this last bill that you see here and the corresponding city council resolution addresses that problem directly, while the first one is to expand right to counsel statewide.
Thank you, Nelson, and then Jose.
I want to thank you, for your work. I went to the, Neighborhood Preservation Coalition Conference this past month. And one of the things that was, featured at a breakout session was this exact topic. And I will tell you that the people in the room are statewide, and they were, talking about the fact that upstate, people were being thrown out of, courts because they were there to help support the tenant that was having an action against them, and the judge wouldn't recognize it. So I want to thank you for your work, and it is being, this is being circulated and talked about through the neighborhood preservation companies that work in the city and in the state as well.
Thank you. Jose, you have a question?
Is that the actual language, like would mandate adjournments until tenants get a lawyer? What if they never get a lawyer? I mean, at some point there has to be. I mean, I have an issue with that wording because you could.
Yeah,
flip side to it, right? There's people that are getting evicted unfairly. I've been through that situation, but there's other sides where there are people that knowingly go into these apartment buildings. I know someone who's in a penthouse and he's not paying rent, and it's a nightmare to get him out, and he's happy. But so there's like, just having it has to be a little more balanced, just to put mandated adjournments, because what if they never get a lawyer? Then if they stay there indefinitely?
Yeah, one caveat that, and I'm very glad that you brought this up. So the single purpose bill has a primary sponsor, Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel, who happens to be on this boat tonight. But his in-house counsel for Senate District 47, he actually had a heavy hand in writing the language. His name is Kenan Kurt. And one of the things I like to point out is that there's actually language about adjournments made in good faith, requests for adjournments that are made in good faith. He Kenan Kurt, he actually created a list of what would be considered not good faith. I don't want to say bad faith, because I think that might be like harmful or going too far, but he did give examples of what would be requests that are not made in good faith. And I'm sure it wasn't an exhaustive list. It was just some examples, and we can definitely forward that to you, because it gets lost sometimes that there is language that talks about adjournments made in good faith.
Could you? Because I mean, it's just concerning. Obviously, we're here to protect people, but at the same time, we know that there are individuals that take advantage of these situations as well. And then you have landlords that aren't getting paid, and it causes an issue as well.
Can you provide that information? from the legislation. Alex?
Yes, I could actually look at it. I think I have it on my phone. I could actually try to, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Steph, you had a question?
I'm just wondering, I see that both these resolutions in council have less than 30 people have signed, like what is the expectations that council is actually gonna sign this and push it forward? Because they've both been there since February and March.
Well, as far as I know, 30 is more than half.
No, it's
I
less than
believe.
30, but it's less than 30, that's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
it's less than 30? Oh.
They can't.
Well, I think some city level lawmakers have expressed the same concerns that were just raised about adjournments made in bad faith and taking advantage of the system. And I suppose we haven't connected with them to clarify.
But we are doing the work. We're constantly reaching out to council members to get them on board with these resolutions, because we know that most people are not taking advantage of the system. Of the 36,000 tenants without representation, half of them are families, and most of them are just good people who fell behind on rent, or their landlord is suing them for a made-up reason. And the least we can do is give them legal representation, as is their right, so they don't have to go through this process alone. And so they can have somebody who knows the ins and outs of housing law in a way that I don't know, in a way that ordinary people don't generally know. So they have a fighting chance at their apartment. That's all we're asking for.
Thank you very much. If there are no further questions, if you please get that information over to us. And,
Yeah, you know what? I found it on my phone. May I read some of it to you? Because I was even reminded of some things that I had forgotten. And that is, and this is from Senator Hoylman's in-house counsel. He had a heavy hand in writing the single purpose bill. He says, good faith would be in the discretion of the housing court judge and subject to appeal. So the landlord's lawyer can appeal a request for an adjournment that they don't feel is made in good faith. And Kenan goes on to say, I think it's easier to explain a few examples of what is not good faith. For example, you were offered an attorney, but declined without a valid reason, or you intentionally did not fill out the paperwork required to apply for an attorney. So those are just two examples. I'm sure he has more.
Would you be so kind as to email that over to the office so the executive committee can look at all those reasons?
Okay, yeah.
And that would be helpful. Thank you. I know you're getting honored at the gala, so we won't keep you too much longer. Give our regards. If there are no other questions, committee, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, committee, couple things on this. There was a borough board, a vote on it. Some of the issues raised by CB3 pertain to what you addressed, Jose, is like, how would that, what would be the protocol and the kind of Boolean action of what happens if they don't get an attorney to pay, what if they're holding out, or, so that was raised by another community board. It'd be good to get those additional information. I believe, Angel, would you jog my memories? In 2016, we took a position on RTC. Was it related to those,
The citywide.
the local law? They are asking for a letter of support, but if this committee, depending on how they feel, if they want to wait 1 month while so we get the additional information, you can actually look over the Senate Assembly counterparts, the bills. I'll leave it at your discretion, so that we're all well informed. Yes.
I mean, I would suggest to wait. I think it's just from their presentation, it makes me uncomfortable to vote on something of this nature that would affect tremendously. It wasn't only tenants that suffered, it was also landlords. Not every landlord in our community are big monstrous landlord. We have people that own one building that have been there for a long time, and obviously COVID definitely affected everyone in that nature, right? The pause on rent was also, and I know a lot of people struggled. I mean, a lot of my neighbors on 115, they had very difficult times. So I think it would be only just to get all the information before we give our support.
Thank you for that. I think, just as an aside to remind everyone, we had 2 resolutions that passed at the beginning of the pandemic calling for moratorium for voting. rent and for small landlords. We did both because of that. Yes, Angel.
I have a question for Brian.
Brian, Angel Niscan, our district manager, has a question for you.
Hi, Brian, thanks for the presentation. Could you, tell us if there is means testing for eligibility for right to counsel at the state and propose, at the city and propose for the state?
Yeah, yeah, totally. So 200% federal poverty level for the city law right now, which is not that much. So anybody who would be eligible for a right to counsel attorney right now would be low income, and the defend RTC legislation would not change that. For our statewide right to counsel, we are looking to expand eligibility to all income levels, but there has been some pushback in the state assembly and Senate around that. So it's not set in stone. It could be a feature of our bill that ends up being compromised down the line. But yes, in the original text, statewide right to counsel would expand it to all income levels.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. And then a final note at Borough Board, one of the things that wasn't good in their reso was funding on the other side for attorneys, and that's what's lacking. So there was a call for funding from the resolution at Borough Board. Thank you very much, Brian, Alex. I hope you have, it looks like Alex dropped off. Thank you, Brian. Have a good evening and a good weekend.
You too. Have a good day.
All right, we'll wait for that information and take this up under old business at next executive committee meeting. Thank you everyone for your time and patience. We're now going to move the agenda along to the review of our budget requests and make recommendations, additions, removal, to full board approval. Angel, do we want to throw this up on the screen? To adjourn.
It's like, hi. No, I meant business.
Oh, yeah. Would you and Steph like to kick this off? Since you just went through this last time.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Ready?
Yeah, it's fucking roll. Where's yours?
So I would like to thank all of you, because every committee was able to go through its budget requests and put their priorities and put them in their rankings. We put that together, and during our meeting last night, there was not much change except for the fact that we added 2 new budget requests under expense. One was a budget request that had been on our request previously, which was to provide funding for a baseline increase to personal services and other than personal services budgets for community boards. And this is for all community boards. That's what we're asking for. And then our new one that has never been in our budget request before is to provide an annual funding allocation of at least $20,000 to support community boards' ability to conduct hybrid monthly full board meetings with the return in-person meeting requirement. Post COVID-19 state of emergency, community boards now conduct meetings in hybrid format, which allows the public to continue to attend and participate via video conference. And they have, since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic and resulting shutdown, funding is essential for the community board's ability to meet the promise to continue remote accessibility for the public and offset the cost for videography services and utilization for suitable offset meeting space. So we added that because we need that. As you can see, we have all these new meetings with new technology that costs us a lot of money. Councilmember Ayala did provide us with $10,000 as a council member who covers most of our district. However, that is discretionary funds and is not something that may be carried out next year. So we're asking for OBM to make sure that they give us this. And now we are going to vote if you guys are okay with it. Or if you guys want to discuss it, we should discuss it.
Are there any questions about the ordering and those requests? Yes, thank you.
Not a question, but just, explaining on the ordering, as I did last night to the budget committee. So each of the committee, I want to thank the committees also for doing their work, not entirely too much hair pulling this year. Still, there's some hair pulling, but not as much. It has to be said. So the committees, indicated the level of priority they wanted to apply to each one of their requests, high, medium, low. So what was presented to the committee last night and what you have in your hand now, except for the two new additions that Stephanie explained, is a prioritized list based on the prioritization from last year, right? And then, so within the high priorities, everything is listed based on last year's prioritization. And then followed by the medium priorities, and those are listed according to their number from last year, and so on to low priorities. Now at each level, at high, medium, and low, where we inserted new requests, the new requests were added at the end of the categorization list. So like at the end of the highs, after all the ones that were numbered from last year, then we inserted the news. And within the news, I recommended to the budget committee and they accepted the recommendation. I recommended an ordering within the three, for example, for capital. So I looked at the three and then I made a judgment and a recommendation based on my judgment, which I recommended to budget and budget approved. So that explains the prioritization listing.
Any questions?
Also, sorry, there was language that we did not get to review, which was on the youth.
So yes,
So that's something that we are going to review here and vote on today.
right. So there's a number of budget requests that the youth committee chose to keep and revise. But due to some scheduling conflicts that we're not able to get the final language, so the requests remain exactly the same. There's just a word or two that they're adding. So in respect to their wishes, we went ahead and the committee voted on the intent and the language, the existing language for those motions. I mean, for those requests, in anticipation of essentially an editing, not of the intent of the request, but an editing to the word.
But the committee took a position on that, correct? David?
Yes, all committees voted on the request that they submitted to the budget committee.
Okay. All right, anything else, questions before we try to dive in and then we'll entertain? Yeah, yes, Michelle.
I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this, all the ones that are in gray, those are the ones that we're looking at, that the language has changed a bit. Is that correct, Raymond?
That the language will change.
The language will change.
Yeah, there's one where there's
It's more.
there's one, for example, that's referring to a building. And they wanted to specify a floor of a building.
Okay,
So it's minor stuff.
but it hasn't changed yet.
It has not changed.
Nuanced, let me correct myself, nuanced as yet. Okay.
Well, what it was like specifically with the changes that they did the bathrooms in the first floor and several was into the entire building. So we want to cut that to be completed before we take it off. Because if we take it off.
It's not gonna
Yeah.
get
Completed.
Yeah.
And those are number 12, 26, and 29.
12, 20.
Right, 20.
Well, right here.
Their copies out. Yeah.
12, 20.
Well, it's 12 in expense. Right, but then different numbers for capital, different numbers for.
Right, I was looking at expense.
Okay, you're looking at expense,
So
so
it's 12 in expense
12 and expense,
and 20 in capital and 12.
26 and 29, you know that, right?
Mhm. That's what I make sure that we're all on the same page. when we-
Yes, I did. Thank you for asking.
All right. Angel, shall we go into capital
26.
for
I
number
know.
12?
Okay. 12. And then here, that, okay.
Okay, so number 12 is funding needs to be allocated to make repairs to the pool of DOA building M037 to 2351 First Ave. So what was the, in keeping this, what specifically were they going to be provided?
Wasn't that what the-
I'm sorry. Number 12 with the pool, what exactly were they hoping to revise?
Well, they had done some work on the pool and got some funding, so we wanted to clarify if that was risky, what funding had been received and what is still needed.
Okay, the amount.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have those numbers yet?
No, I'm waiting for them to get that.
Angel, what would you recommend in revising this as
No, my
well?
recommendation is to approve these as they are, because it's just some minor edits.
Oh, okay, so just improve as they are, and once we get the information, the staff will clean them up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Are there any other comments about this, the budget requests? Isaac, I got your email. Would you like to talk about the human services, new additions or? just comment?
No, I mean, none of them are on except for the one. I'm sorry, I thought that's what you.
that number?
I think it was just the one for NYC 988. That was the only new one from Human Services that made it on.
What number?
That is number 2. I'm not, if I'm looking at, I'm on the expenses, capital, I'm sorry, we don't
Okay.
have, Human Services doesn't have capital expenses to my knowledge.
You mean number 17?
I wasn't looking at. Capital sheet. No, I was looking at the expense sheet, y'all on the capital sheet.
No, we're not playing fine.
One, on the third one to the right. That's the
List of-
final.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the
okay,
ranking
okay,
number.
sorry,
That's what
okay. All right, which one?
Expense number 17.
17,
17.
No, he's looking at it to the computer.
the rate of adult psychiatric
Allocated
hospitalization.
to improve renovation. This is, so I'm sorry, am I still looking at the wrong one? Because this says, 17 says funding should be allocated to provide a full renovation of River East Playground.
You must be looking at the after.
That's capital.
That was the full list. That's what it says under number 17.
That's what it says under number 17 on the phone.
Under capital.
On the capital.
Under, oh, sorry.
So right here, this is right here.
Oh,
Or go to the next.
Yep, that's this one right here. So it would be under expense,
Three to
number
the system.
17.
okay.
Go further down. in
Six
your-
and section.
see if you get expense.
I'm a bit confused on how this.
No, no.
See, you see how there's that line?
Okay,
You-
I
there you
got
go.
you. So it's
Like
not
on the-
actually 17.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's like,
What would it be?
no, not on
We
the
don't know,
Excel
because
sheet.
You're all looking at the paper, not the.
Yeah.
Oh,
So maybe Angel
so
would know, but
17 down?
17
Let me
under the
catch
ranking, if
17.
you look, no, if you look at the right, oh, you could do that.
Look at the
or look at the
ranking.
right sheet.
Look at the ranking.
Number 20, it's that.
No, it's
Oh,
number,
it's not-
number 33 was one of your new
There you go.
requests, Isaac.
54.
The road of psychiatric hospitalization or something like that.
Okay.
Number 30.
No,
We got it.
Yeah.
The rate of adult psychiatric hospital in East Harlem is nearly, is that the one?
Yeah.
Nearly
No,
triple.
it's as you scroll down to, it's prioritized number 33.
33.
Now we're at 33.
That was the 988. NYC, that was your new request.
Ah. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
It's there, right?
It looks here somewhere. Okay, so actually row 70 on the spreadsheet. Thank you, guys. All right, so, yeah, so I'm gonna be honest, and I don't know who added this new, because we got our tracker sheet with this one already added onto it new before we started. So I figured this came from the staff.
Okay.
Yeah, but we agreed. So that's why it's on. I don't know if there's any other commentary that's needed for that one. Yes, so.
I just wanted to applaud you. Oh, for, just real quick, with the moratorium, they're working in human services and it came, at this last meeting, and we've had like a postmortem chat about it, but they're tethering budget requests to our positions we're taking. So in that case, the moratorium asking for certain resources to be funded. And like last year, we had some individuals and committees try to lob last minute to executive get requests on. In the spirit of fairness in our process, they're going to spend time working on it. Get it primed, hopefully by December, January, have something that I can actually talk with Jess and Diana Ayala to start planting seeds for what they need to invest on. But I just want to call out good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. I think more of it is that we have a lot of new committee members and they're not as informed on the issue. So they're just being thrown right into the budget process. It was Monday was a annoying meeting. It wasn't, it was rough. It was okay though, so good. But it does, after I got a chance to calm down, I realized, this is a teaching moment. It's an opportunity for us to kind of step back, get an understanding today of what the issues are. One of the things that we really want to be adamant about is if we take a position, then we should be asking for budget requests that relate directly to that position we're taking. So not that we're, and then that even like plus the work of really thinking about what did we say is the issue? Here's what we should be asking for. So that is going to take a little bit more time. We also I didn't give my committee report yet, so I'll check. But yeah, that's really where we are right now. Yeah, the second one that's not us. Yeah, so yeah, that was the only new one we had was that one, and that was added by staff, I believe.
Thank you. Isaac, so again, your long process, keep the trucking. So yes, Jose.
It was staff that added it, right?
No, staff did not add it.
Who added it? Yeah, I don't know.
Staff did not add it. It was added on the list of the new requests and I copied it over to the list you have.
I think I recall in the meetings, that one was one that got listed, that you guys did approve.
Yeah, we got, no, but it was already, what I'm saying is that.
They brought it before.
It was already, once we started looking at it, it was already there. So
But you approved it in your committee.
We did
right?
approve it, yes,
Then-
absolutely.
Then we're good.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I want to be held back. If you, I thought it sounded like you were against it.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
confused. No, you're quick.
Yeah.
I have a motion.
You have a motion?
I have a motion.
All right, go ahead, Jose. You
I have a motion to approve everything you see.
I'll second that. All right, so to clarify, the motion is to approve everything we've reviewed on the budget request and the committee's work and the prioritization. And that the minor revisions will come across once we have additional information, correct? And a second?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Moving the agenda on. Thank you, everyone. Much better this year. Yay. All right, review of draft agenda for upcoming full board. We got about 10 minutes for this. So I'm gonna keep it nice and tight. We're doing now. Famous last words. Just want to give a little shout out to everyone. We had full board last month that we ran things. It was really tight. It was long. But I want to applaud everyone because it was very civil. And no, everyone respected. They said, okay, how am I agreeing? They, again, it takes a team to make this happen and uniformity matters in that exercise. All right. Yeah, it was.
That was just last month.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like that scene on Airplane. I picked the wrong one. Yeah. Okay, we'll scroll on down. Oh.
The wrong one.
Yeah, it's exactly. All right, talk amongst yourselves. All right.
Getting concerned. I thought we could have just voted. Like snuck
Some like secret item.
So we didn't have 20, 30 items being added?
Sounds like
Yeah.
money.
There we go. Pretty straightforward housing, No action items. The action items, we have license and permits, them, you had. These, how many did you have? 5?
I don't know, maybe 6, 5.
Okay, so yeah, the first one was Alex, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a new application,
Straightforward.
and they recommended it to be denied. Next one is Le Blanc Pizza. It's a new application and they recommended it to be denied. I'm presuming it's because they didn't provide the materials or show up.
Yeah.
Number 3 is the Centillion report, doing business in La Cocina de Mama. And that is to be approved. 4 is no, the Emmanuel Hernandez new application, and they recommended to be denied. That was mainly because of not being present, correct? He is with us tonight. That'll be under our new business. Thank you for being in attendance. He's just seeking a letter of no objection, and then 5, 4, yes.
Is that who's here? I thought it was Paulina.
Both are here.
Oh, they're both here? Oh, never mind.
Fruit
I can't keep
Crystal,
track.
LLC doing business, 2 sisters, 4 brothers, that was denied, the application was withdrawn. Environment, open space and parks, there's a motion to provide a letter of no objection to reconstruction concession and addition of pergola structure.
Yep, and just as a note, this was something that we're doing a letter of no objection for. It was, they needed to get it in for DRC for the end of the month, so
Okay,
our committee, we're doing Parks a favor.
okay, thank you for that explanation. Elections committee, no action items, youth and education. And provide Kelsey Stevens a letter of citation by Russell Schuler and second by Isaac Scott. And then land use, meat and potatoes here, made a motion to support the resolution recommending approval of land use applications for the Timbali Terrace, and with our bullet points on what our requests are, trying to fill those gaps specifically as it comes to the supportive housing. And public safety, they had 2 action items. Which is in opposition to DOT's current 3rd Avenue bridge, neighborhood project design, and neighborhood loading zone expansions on Lexington Avenue 96 and 97. Motion made to support. Human services, no action items. EcoDev, same district needs. They just went through the bulk of it. And executive, we had a couple. We had the motion to approve the letter from our emergency meeting with targets closure. And then these 2 items, and also one more that we'll be voting on tonight, which is the resolution dealing with the Americans with Disability Act and altering to be able to have hybrid meetings. And as it comes to voting for those that can't be here, who don't qualify, but have an excuse to be out, and then those that qualify for disability with the ability to achieve quorum, so which we reviewed last week. So then these 2, so that is the agenda. Any questions before we jump into chair reports? Yes.
Where are we in terms of the elections committee and the new business, Angel?
It would be right after, elections would be right after executive, correct, Angel? Or no? Could be in
Okay,
order.
so there we are.
Yeah,
Okay, and then it's in November for the
yeah,
elections.
that is.
Okay.
Thank you.
And as soon as.
Yes, David, do you have a question or?
No, I'm just trying.
Yes.
So the elections would be in November, and then the people that are elected would start in December?
January.
January.
Did they say no?
Okay. All right.
No, I think they said they were coming back the next month. They usually don't give us a reason.
Is that a soul food place?
Yeah.
Which one?
The food for your soul. The one that.
Oh.
I
6
don't know, I got, which one is it? Food for your soul.
Scroll down.
I think so.
Yeah, it's withdrawn as the food for your soul.
Put that back in.
Okay, with that, I'm gonna move us on to our committee chair reports. We will just go around, I'll just go around the table if everyone's fine with that, start with Nilsson. Nilsson?
Hello. So we had our elections committee meeting earlier this month, and we, with our committee members, we talked about the process. We decided and took a motion that our voting will not be all one, it will not all be in one, in person or digital, it's gonna be hybrid, so. Angel will send out a link at the beginning of the elections portion of the November meeting. And those who have the ability can vote digitally. And for those that are in person that do not want to vote digitally, will have to opt out from the electronic ballot, and then we will give them a paper ballot. And then that will help us tabulate more. I want to thank Isaac. He is one of my committee members. You all can all clap for him now. And so John Green as well. So y'all have two good people here, and we have two others that I will again name at the meeting. We have Kenneth Crouch, who is a new addition, and we also have Brandon Wright, who is also our fifth. And so we are going to be doing a virtual candidate forum. We are still discussing what the format will be in the length. It will not be more than an hour and a half. We have already decided on the date, which I think we put in the paperwork that we sent, the initial paperwork. And so we look forward to having everyone participate. And like I said, we will be sending you out periodic information. We are also going to send you out a candidates viewing zones for the most efficient electioneering. I use the term in a positive way, and just to be respectful of the people's times and stuff like that. And Angel will probably be sending his announcement more close to the ballot time, so that you can understand how the electronic ballot will work both for our old members and our new members. And that's about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Steph, do you have anything else to report back up there?
No, we just did the work.
Okay,
Thank you.
I like that.
I appreciate you guys.
Likewise.
We appreciate you.
Okay.
So I gave half of my share report already and my frustrations. Outside of that, we had our regular informational updates. We had one presentation from the bariatric program at Metropolitan Hospital, very informative. We didn't make it to our second present. Well, they didn't stay on the line. We had to just switch the order of our agenda items, so we didn't lose quorum. We had a member who needed to leave early, so we wanted to get through the budget stuff. So that was really all that happened. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Jose.
We had two action items, as you saw. We are against the current DOT project, 128th Street, for all of the reasons that we've given before, the lack of community engagement. First, it was community engagement, and then all of a sudden they said it was a finalized project, even though in their own presentation, they said that they would be in design for another 1.5 to 2 years. And then we took a vote on the sorry, Michelle's making me laugh. We took a vote for the city has a program where every year they're adding, by mandatory, they're taking some spots. And these spots are designed for loading, unloading of, it's basically for Amazon, all the deliveries that have to be made. And they're adding every year, they need to add a certain number of spots. They do that throughout the entire city. But we were able to combine some of these with some of the requests from the city, from CVS, and one on 116, which is the supermarket. I forgot the name of it right now. It's Shop something. I forget. It's just there always. A big supermarket on the south side of 116. I forgot the name. Valley or nothing, but they were requesting
Valley, maybe.
They were requesting a loading zone, both of them, and we were able to kind of combine those two in order to make sure that and both of them were already meter parking. So we're not really taking away from residential parking. So we're doing our best to make sure that we even though they're doing this every year, we're trying to minimize the effect it has on the community parking.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
May I add?
No, no. This chair, I don't want her to add it.
That's it. All right, go ahead.
We also discussed the public awareness safety conference, which is an ongoing thing, which would be occurring on December the 1st. And we just want to keep the enthusiasm up, and so we're just getting as many people interested as possible, which will be held on East 119th Street in the Silverman Hunter Building.
I recant, I did want her to add that.
Thank you.
That was 25 seconds.
Ah, thank you, John. Gotta do better. Giselle.
Hello, everyone. We had our usual announcements. We had our usual informational update, so Union Settlement. She was not able to be there, but everyone else, Uptown Grand Central was not able to be there, but Union Settlement, El Museo del Barrio tampoco, they didn't go. Caribbean Cultural Center, African Diaspora, and El Barrio's Art Space did not go, so Angel suggested in our next meeting that we try to, reach out to them to see if we can hold our meetings at their facility so that they're able to attend. Which I think was a really good idea. We gave a brief on the lantern facility walkthrough that I gave. On Friday of last week. We had our small business spotlight of City Restaurant and House. We went over our budget priorities. Frances Udos from NYPL also was there. She gave a brief presentation, really just reaching out to our committee, letting us know their needs, because they will be receiving, I believe, so far what they calculated 5% cut. So they do not want to reduce, their hours and days of operation, so they really need our committee is and the board as well to advocate for their capital funding. And that was our meeting.
Thank you, Giselle. Jess.
All right, we had a number of, for environment, open space and parks, we had a number of announcements. We have been revisiting informational updates. Usually we have, a number of organizations and we invite city agencies to attend, and unfortunately, we haven't had great attendance from park sanitation or environmental protection. Parks is usually at the meetings, but they were not at our most recent meeting, so we'll be sure to follow up with them and remind them that we hope that they attend. We also discussed budget requests and had a lot of additional requests coming out of our park stores, which was really productive. We had a presentation on a proposal for the name change of Negro Point on Ward's Island. They're suggesting the USBGN, which is, the stakeholder input gathering mechanism for this process, is the suggestion is to change it to Tanakis Point, which is a Lenape word. But there were some people on the call, including a historian and someone from the NOAA. I'm not sure what that stands for. I'm sorry. That maybe the name might be more unique to Black history in our neighborhood, especially relating to the Black mariners that helped ships navigate those waters back in the day. So they sent us a lot of resources to read up on, and we're going to get some assistance in that later on this year, but there's no deadline for this, so we're going to continue to review and follow up and see how we feel, and hopefully make a suggestion in the coming months. One of our action items was the addition of the pergola structure in Central Park for a concession area. As I mentioned, they're going to the Public Design Commission later this month, so we made a exception to provide a letter of no objection this month for that project. And then we also had a presentation on from New Yorkers for Parks on a proposal to increase the city budget's spending for parks to 1% of the New York City budget. They have a ton of support, and they provide a lot of resources that we on the committee use regularly. And, obviously, I think it seems to be in alignment with a lot of our priorities as a committee. Oh, thank you. What was it? The NOAA is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Thank you, Angel. I would have never gotten there. So we're going to consider a letter of support for that proposal for the funding for parks next month. Thank you.
All right, well, we got more than our usual stuff going on with all the OCM applications coming, and to be honest, I don't think the process has been clear. They apparently already added an extension. Angel told me they changed their FAQs on their website, frequently asked questions, like 2 days ago. some of these licenses they're giving out, they're not even really clear, like, there's like a dispensing thing, it's all a little strange, on top of the fact that like, it felt like months ago, everybody was talking about this, then it kind of died down, even the people were supposed to get the card licenses, they were all these lawsuits tying it up, and there was no funding, and then all of a sudden, like a month ago, I hear, oh, people are gonna start sending in applications, so we need to do something. So I had a meeting I had all my committee, if they wanted to come, we had a meeting, like a off-schedule meeting last week at the board office, some people attended in person, whoever couldn't attend was welcome to join in on Zoom or whatever, Google Meets, and some people did. And then I realized like a big group like that, it was kind of hard to like go over documents and start changing things individually. So we made a Google Drive and we put all our like SLA documents in there, and we asked everybody to kind of start adding things or taking things out or just making changes. Don't hold me to it, but I'm almost positive that not one person on my committee made a single suggestion or change. Some said they were still doing it. I even offered to pick them up. Haven't gotten anything. So, you know, with that said, I had I had a contingency plan if that happened, which meant I was sitting there kind of figuring out what we talked about and what the committee would be comfortable with. And then with the help of Marlene and Angel, I met today with the two of them because honestly, after not hearing back, I didn't really understand the point of another discussion. I mean, they're gonna get to vote on everything, right? Like, I'm gonna bring this to committee, everybody's gonna have a chance to comment on it. But just like the way I'm looking at it, you brought up an interesting point, Xavier, like about some community boards maybe just like declining this right now till there's more clarity or pushing it back. But I just wanted something in place in case that doesn't happen. What we did, because we have a lot of applicants coming in November, is that we kind of gave them our liquor license questionnaire. So they're gonna come, right? I mean, at least right now, I guess that's the plan. They're gonna come. What I talked to Marlene and Angel about today, we went over, we edited the stipulation document, we tailored it now to cannabis. We did the same thing with the questionnaire. We updated our public notice process. So instead of 7 days for liquor licenses, we've gone to 14 for this. This is a new thing. We killed the petitions with liquor licenses. We're working on figuring out another way to do public notice there. And I didn't want to take something we killed for something because I just felt like people were making names up and there were areas where you couldn't get 25 names and it forced people to make names up. So Angel had a great idea, letters of support. We do that. So we said 3 letters of support. One has to be from a business or organization. We picked it 1,000-foot radius. The reason we picked that is there's a 1,000-foot rule with these. Liquor, we have a 500-foot rule. 3 liquor licenses within 500 feet. The dispensary rule is 1 within 1,000 feet. So we figured that 1 dispensary then would affect 1,000 feet in each direction, and those would be the people. So 1 has to be from a business or organization. The other 2 can be from tenants within that 1,000-foot radius or 2 more businesses or organizations on top of a public posting. What we're also going to make people aware of, because we do have people that have come to our committee complaining, oh, I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. We have a newsletter that goes out weekly from the community board with the agenda. It tells you all the licenses that are coming up. I've heard people with ideas about, oh, do this mailing program. I'm just gonna be honest. If you can't go and look at a weekly newsletter that gets emailed to you, you're not the type of person, in my opinion, that's gonna start opening newsletters at home. It doesn't, and you know, we gotta figure out systems that work for our office and are just things we can carry out. So with that being said, we have something in place now that I would feel pretty comfortable moving forward with. It's not radically different from what we're doing with liquor licenses, but it does take into account certain things. I just want to make one last point. I noticed in my discussions with people, a lot of people looked at these dispensaries similar to like they're looking at restaurants and bars. I think that's not a good way to look at it. I think you should need to look at a dispensary like you look at a liquor store, which is interesting because we don't give licenses to liquor stores. We give licenses to restaurants and bars. The thing is, people don't go to a dispensary and consume. It's a retail experience. So, you know, the ideas of like security and this and that. I mean, I think there was a big concern that people were going to consume at these places. And I think that just had to be clarified. I don't think OCM's done the greatest job in quelling a lot of fears, which would actually benefit them. And last point. a lot of people are afraid of the licenses, in my opinion. This could all be wrong. It's kind of new. We don't know. If you're, in my opinion, if you're worried about the illegal smoke shops, as you should be, and all this, the greatest defense against that are gonna be the people you give licenses to. They are gonna make sure that that gets enforced, because I'll tell you why. If you get as far as I know, if you get a New York dispensary license, you have to buy from a New York cultivator. Your prices are gonna be a lot higher. Now, the guy 2 doors down that's running an illegal smoke shop can go buy it from anywhere. He's not regulated. He's gonna undercut you. You think you're gonna get a license, pay the city all this money, go through all these things to have a guy 2 doors down with impunity to undercut you? That's what's gonna, so I think that the things we're worried about are gonna actually start to go away. Yeah, that's my opinion, anyway. So
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks for, for that, I didn't for that. Just something that I wanted to comment on to the members that are here, the leaders of the board. This conversation, as Adem alluded, is a continuing to be confusing conversation. Not anything to do with us, just having to do with the way that the discussion and the process has been rolled out by the Office of Cannabis Management, OCM. So I'm regularly in discussion with the other 58 district managers. We're all confused. Okay, like none of us are certain. So like we've had several meetings. Someone will raise their hand and speak very assertively. We have decided at our board this. And then the next person that raises their hand goes and contradicts them based on the information that they found from OCM. So it's very difficult, like, to find a toehold, right? A definitive toehold to then from there create processes or have some, some matter of like a sure footing to be able to then communicate to our members and more importantly to the community. So I think it is important that we be honest with the public about this and also ask them to be honest and fair with us. A few months ago, we started having conversations about this, and some of the feedback, including from our members and the public, was quite discouraging. The idea of like, oh, just legalize everything. Like, that's not the conversation. We're trying to have a serious conversation and you're being distracted, right? What the SLA process, allows the community board is an opportunity to be the host for a conversation that the public can participate in to inform decisions made on these licenses, similar to OCM. So we need not quiet, but we need order in order to be able to communicate as best as we can and be informed as best as we can so we can make good, sound decisions on what is ideally a good thing, but so far is a very confusing thing. One last thing that Adem didn't get to speak on is that we, all community boards, have been seeing within the flood of applications that have been coming in literally the last 3 weeks, right? I forgot what we're up to, 15 or something. Which sounds like a lot, it's nothing. The CB2 has 62, right? And what boards are seeing is that they're receiving notifications for the same location. So like, here's 3 applications for 123 Main Street. Here's another 5 applications for 123 Main Street. So there's something we need to figure out, like how do we choose if we have 5 applicants for the same address? So in the process, now this is the bit I've been able to understand, and they might undermine me tomorrow. But from what I understand right this very moment, for the regular licenses, not the justice involved ones, not the card ones, for the regular old run-of-the-mill Joe Blow licenses, the applicant is able to notify the municipality, in our case, the community board, before they have control of the site. However, OCM will not receive their application until they're able to provide proof of the site. So there's a unnecessarily confusing space there, which we've put into our application. We're like, you need to provide us control of the site, right? Because like, just because OCM is making it confusing, like we don't have to follow along. So that the hope being that if 5 people have applied And one of them provides us proof that they control the place, or that they either have a lease, they own the building, or they have some kind of, potential lease or whatever. That we can say, okay, well, we're gonna talk to John, because John has, something here, then we can consider them versus, Billy Ray and the other guy who are just kind of, that they don't have any connection to the site.
Yeah, no site control, even if there was just say, cause I talked to Marlene too about it, if, let's say it's one person with, then they're the only one for that site, and they don't have a deed or a lease, so they don't show they own it or lease it, we're just not even gonna hear them,
Right.
we're not interested.
Nielsen, and then I'm gonna move us along with the
Is
agenda.
there a limitation as the amount of applications, like within the first year or,
Not that I'm aware of. I think there's a period
a
for
period?
applications.
And then it
And I
closes.
think that got extended to November 18th, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't know what that means. I don't know what happens after that. I'm just telling you what I saw in the email.
Yeah. Thank you, Nielsen, for stepping in.
I just have a quick question, because I was looking at one of the people who applied, and it looks like he applied for two different, like a distributor and.
Yeah, I think that was a mistake, I think that the only ones you can apply for right now are dispensary.
No, you.
No,
And
there.
5 licenses. But you could, you.
On our form, there's only 3, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
But the other licenses don't apply to us. We're not gonna see.
We might not
distributor,
have
we're not gonna
those.
see Cultivator, any of that stuff.
I think I heard them say something like you have to apply for 2 of them. At the same time, so you need to be doing.
You're not allowed
Yeah.
to apply
Or
for
you're
more
not-
than one sector.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing a
So
micro.
we're only seeing micro business, dispensary, and then there's like this dispensing something one that makes no sense. The
Alright.
cultivator and distribution, I don't think they're coming before the
No,
board.
they're not yet.
The
So we
processor
will,
maybe,
the process.
Yeah,
the processor, so we're looking at the processors, we're looking at the micro business,
and then
and then the
dispensary,
retail,
dispensary, yeah,
and,
that's it, I think.
okay. retail.
Not processor.
Not.
No, it's dispensing something.
Retail dispensary license.
No, there's another one.
We'll find.
I'll
well,
send it to
yeah, you
everybody,
send it to
yeah.
everyone. I'll move us along now. Thank you for the questions. It's obviously complex, John.
Confusing the public, your governmental bureaucrat, that.
Gotta hire
Anyway,
business people.
first of all, as far as the housing committee, I was not at the last meeting, but I want to thank, Dawn Sanders and Martin here for holding it down and making sure that everything gets done. Basically, there was a presentation about a new, veterans resident at 119th Street. And also, we also did the work with our budget request and Stan happy. So and that's really about it. That was basically what done at the meeting.
Thank you very much, John.
What was the
Dave?
presentation on veterans? Sorry, just for the minutes.
Oh my goodness.
It's the veterans residence on 119th Street. There's a new
Okay.
manager.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
thank you.
David.
Good evening, everyone. So youth and education we had, and I was very thankful. Urban Gov come to present on a possible charter school. So Urban Gov is taking over 2 of the New Vision's AIM charter schools. And they are going to possibly be moving one to Brooklyn, where they have already existing schools, and another to East Harlem. These are alternative schools for kids that do not have enough credits. What's interesting is that they run a sports kind of program. Each cohort is considered a team and has a coach that goes with them through the 4 years or 3 years, however long they're in the program. So the coach is like a counselor that works with the class and moves with the class. So when the class goes up in the grade, they follow. They use sports as kind of their initiative. So they're looking for their own space. They do not want to co-locate with any school, because as they sports program, they need a gym. And that's what they're looking for, a space that they can accommodate a large gym. And they will, I believe, be moving the Bronx site into another Bronx site next year while they develop the site in East Harlem. They couldn't get a real long and in-depth presentation. The committee really, supported them, because again, many charter schools do not come before us. And there's always been this thing where they're supposed to, but it's never really clear that they have to. So, they came and really wanted to continue the partnership. They've been in East Harlem prior, running after school programs. That's how they originally started. They did not at the meeting asked for a letter of support, but they did ask for one afterwards. We said we would entertain it in the following month. We also, I gave a short presentation on Kelsey Stevens, which is a motion to give a citation. Kelsey Stevens, on September 17th, celebrated his 50 years with Children's Aid Society. I first met Kelsey in 1975 when I was 13. I showed a picture of the boy when I was a little fat kid, looked like Daddy Rogers. And Kelsey was just as slim as he is now at 70 years old as he was in his 20s. Kelsey also grew up in Harlem, worked with all of the Children's Aid sites in East Harlem, Millbank, and Douglas. He was a Millbank kid. Like myself, I was a Douglas kid. And, you know, he's really lived a life of developing young people. And although he was my coach, he cut me a year too, but he became a mentor, a colleague, and a friend. He's still continuing to coach the girls team. But one of the things he did great, I thought he did great in the programs that he ran. And it was similar to what was presented at with Urban Dove, is that he ran a sports management program. So not every kid was a ball player. So the idea was teach kids how to keep books, teach kids how to be refs. And he did a referee program and taught them, and created these other opportunities for kids that love the sport, but necessarily weren't the athlete. And still gave them an opportunity to train, learn. Plus, it was employable skills that they learned. Summer tournaments, you could be hired to keep the books and those kinds of things. So just really felt it was important. You know, we reached out to elected officials in Harlem and also in East Harlem because he's touched all these kids. You know, Millbank was his main site in Douglas, but you know, Millbank is a block away, a half block from Fifth Avenue. It's not on the side of Fifth Avenue, East Harlem. So, you know, kids don't look at those boundaries when they go to play ball. And he's really touched so many people, and thought it was really important. You know, we did our budget, but I gotta say this.
Yeah.
As part of the meeting, every year I like to review the mission and the goals. And like a dad, I ask people, what are things they want to work on? Because if not, you're gonna work on my goals. I have no problem developing, right? But again, you want to get feedback from your committee. And I think however we can best orientate people, because I think even some of the emails that have been going across all of us, people don't know the process. And then we're making judgments sometimes on an incorrect process. And we're holding to them without being open to listen or, you know, really hearing that maybe I may be wrong or I may not be wrong. Or maybe I'm right, or maybe I'm not right. But I think again, as a board, we collectively make decisions, and those decisions we should support as we all may agree or disagree with an outcome.
Thank you. Well stated.
Here.
Thank you. That concludes our chair report. It's 8:15. I'm gonna try to get us out of here as quickly as possible. Thank you for your patience and the hard work. Next up is our resolution, continuing discussion. Policy allow remote participation of members qualified disability. Once the open meetings law section.
That's nice.
103-8 includes the Angel spent some time in it. We talked it over about making status and make it shorter. We can get through that and struck the second whereas clause. If you want to scroll down, please. We reviewed all of this last month's meeting. Yes.
Motion.
Well, let's get. Yeah, I'll go, but let's go down the second. Did we strike one more?
Further down.
Further down. So nothing's changed in the rest, just a little tweaks right there. Current endeavor to shall comply. Yeah.
Motion.
I'm sorry, you say that?
No.
He was
Making
making another motion.
You saw that strike. Be it further resolved, we removed that because it's moved as our bylaws facilitate that for those next two be it further resolves. Then being called on for the governors, the state and the city to act. So that's it. Are there any questions? Okay, Jose, you recognize.
Motion
To
approve the resolution adopting hybrid meetings and ADA compliance with open meetings law.
Okay, and the second is Michelle. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any opposition? Abstentions? The motion carries. Board member attendance, continuing discussion.
Oh, good. I didn't have to bring it up. Nice.
I'm sure, did everyone get a chance to go into the attendance?
Yeah.
And look.
No, could we see it now? Mine only showed up to June. I couldn't. I couldn't see September, October.
Um,
The shared folder that I have, I mean, well, not October. 'cause-
Yeah, I don't remember.
But I wanted to see September.
Yeah, it would be good to put it up.
Switch.
It would be good.
I mean, I wanted to see September because that's what we were.
We should talk about it on the
Guys,
screen.
we're pulling it up.
Wait,
That is for last year.
no,
Yeah,
this
so
year,
we
September
reviewed-
of this year.
That's not what we were doing, what's.
We're, yeah.
Oh, we already reviewed that.
No.
I asked everyone to take a look to make sure you looked at the committees as well as the full
I
board,
mean, I
because
did
we
that.
would be sending letters to both committee, because the way our bylaws are drafted. It's in either a committee or full board. So everything is taken on its own, so you can see right here, these are the full boards. All right, total miss. So the net's gonna be very large. When we're sending to people who've also missed a line committee, so everyone's aware, yes, again.
That's my question. So how does that number work? Like, is it, like, say the average person is on 2 committees and full board, right? So what's the total number of meetings that commits?
That's perfect.
Is it 4 on each one?
Each committee.
And full board?
And
We know.
full board.
So if this 4 full board
Otherwise.
and
Or-
3 and 3, they're safe.
Because we're gonna talk to them about the full board attendance.
So, okay, so we're looking at, if, let's say your attendance is great at full board and good at one committee, but bad at one committee.
You would receive a letter for that committee.
Well, okay, so then would you be getting removed from that committee or remove, would that
This
be?
is starting the process.
This is just starting, so.
No, there's no removal, it's a starting.
It's not-
Well, what would be the process with that person to maybe, because
Like a
here's,
warning where-
Maybe take less committees.
well, here's, well, no, it's not that.
Come on, stop, guys, raise your hands.
Well, here's my thought, like, sometimes I think some people, I could be wrong, some people. You know, might just have I could be wrong, but some people could have bad attendance at one committee and maybe the best thing to do with them is be like, do you like that committee you're on? You know, I mean,
This is, so some members have volunteered and said flat out, I'd like to move this committee
Yeah.
because my work schedule changed. And we accommodate.
okay,
It is the responsibility of each individual member to have the cognizance to say, I'm missing meetings. This is an opportunity for said members in question, the committee and full board to actually come forward, begin the process, say, you know what, I can't do Mondays anymore. I just can't. And I'm causing, I'm not to pick, but human services, right? Because there was a wait for 30 minutes for form. I can't do it because I'm not done with work until 6. I can't get till 6:30. I'm holding up the show. May I switch? These are 2 committees I have interest. And you switch, but this is an opportunity for said member, whether full board or committee, to register and say, I'd like to switch, and I can shake the etch a sketch and start fresh. So that's an opportunity, but it's just beginning the process, notifying they're not in compliance and it's about attendance, and it would have, and the letters, correct me if I'm wrong, Angel, when they start going out, is if you've not been attending at full board, or you've not been attending, you haven't been in attendance at said committee, like housing and land use, or it would just be specifying those, or would it be a general cookie cutter letter? Is it gonna be specific? Because I would imagine it'd be specific.
It's specific to how you're eligible for removal. So last month, you already had this conversation.
Yeah.
So you've already determined it. So the letters have to go out.
Yeah.
Right? So you gave the members of the committee an opportunity between last month and this month to look at the sheet, so they're aware of who it is that this applies to. Now the letters have to go out.
Okay, take a look.
So so the eligibility to be for per the motion, 5 or more missed meetings for full board, or the same thing for your committees. You could be removed from the board for having poor attendance on both of your assigned committees. So you have to have a minimum. So if, for example, you were on housing and licenses and permits, and you missed 5 or more in both of those, you're eligible for removal. So the people that will receive it depending on their eligibility. You can be removed from the board for having poor attendance on only one committee. If you had 2, yeah, or if you have full board.
it's 5 or more on each, so like it would be 10 or more combined?
So 5 or more on full board, 5 or more in each of your committees.
Okay, got it.
That's the end.
Last month's motion was set 5.
Okay.
We had a friendly
Jose.
yard that follow the bylaws, which would be 4.
Yeah, mine was.
Hold on, Jose, and then.
Yes, so I'm kind of getting deja vu, because we had this conversation
Yes.
and it went to board, there was an amendment,
Yeah.
it was done. And then why weren't the
letters sent out already.
Because we were gonna make sure everyone knew, and we're going through the list, not everyone had reviewed the list on this committee, yes.
But what is it?
So now the letters go out, are we gonna form a committee? Because they're gonna have to, okay.
Yes, the committee will be formed to handle it, correct? Can we scroll down, please, Angela? So we have 6 people. And the last meeting, we had, who's that?
Some of them are no longer.
It's not-
Just want to note that I have perfect attendance.
Well, listen,
So you also get a letter.
That Maria?
Too good.
So, guys, so everyone, this is last year, so if they're not here on the board, it doesn't apply, yes, fine.
I stand corrected. Jessica reminded me because I tried to erase the full board in my memory. Yes, there was a friendly amendment at full board to abide by the strict rules of the bylaw, so it's 4 or more missing.
Okay,
that is.
So just the, as red as we're covering. So Leroy's not here no more. Juhide has 7 of, this is a full board sheet. Juhide for full board. Devin for full board. Carlos Diaz for full board. Raja, he's not here no more. Brandon Gillespie.
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said that out loud.
Alonso, not here?
He's gone. He left a long time ago. Robert's gone, Spotson's gone. Dawn Sanders. Vinny Suarez,
Who's that?
Jason Villanueva. That's for the full board.
okay. Everyone's clear
We don't-
on those committees. And the committee, and so then it would be in comparison with those committees.
So your name would have to be read on 2 committees for the committee to think.
I mean, I think I'm getting a letter for.
Is that
executive,
correct?
so
Right.
Okay,
I'm pretty
got
sure.
you.
Yes, okay.
I don't think you're getting
All
any
right,
letters.
so they will start drafting the letters to go out. Understand? Now, are there any questions?
Can't get a letter just
No.
for executive.
All right, last bite of the apple, because we're gonna move along. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna be hitting that soon. All right, moving on, we're gonna go on to any our new business. Which is liquor licenses, Polina Bar Corporate new application. for liquor
Xavier,
license.
just some clarification. So now the letters are going out?
Yes.
Just wanna make sure
You wanna mail them yourself?
I can hand deliver.
It's okay, Jose, I started batch on.
Just like a UPS man.
Yeah.
We're going back into new business. Colina Bar Corp. Renewal application for liquor license number 1272267 for restaurant located at 2263 Second Avenue. New York, New York, and set across the street of 116th Street. We have the owner here. We did not vote in this item as the applicant had not submitted a written posting in advance of their meeting. Sir, your name?
Felix.
Felix, we have Felix here. Do we have that proof provided? Angle?
Yes.
Okay, but there was somebody who, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you sent me the email that was complaining about this location. But what I do with Marlene before every meeting is ask if there were any 311s. And then I was under the impression that we may have missed some, we didn't. There were like 3 311s there for like the total of a 3-year span, which is not a concern. But there was, is there anybody in the 10 days, Angel? Because somebody said they might come to speak about noise complaints or whatever. From what I heard secondhand, they told Marlene that rather than call 311, they have gone down to the establishment to talk to them about the loud music or whatever, and they were supposed to be here tonight. That's all I know, and if they're not here, I really can't say more.
What is your last name for the record? What's your last name for the record?
De La Cruz.
De La Cruz. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Try to find it. Too. Are there any questions from the board members?
Is there anyone in the public, right?
Well,
Public,
I'm wondering if anybody's in the
we have a
attendees.
Mark.
I think that's.
Nobody
okay.
raised their hand.
Well, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Could ask for him, but-
Well, I mean, if they're not here, they're not here.
Mark Dezornia, is that a,
And you,
it's not a board member of ours.
No.
A member of the public.
Oh, he's not. I thought
Mark
that was
Cortez.
he was a new.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
are there any questions? Do we have?
Just for,
Yes, Giselle?
The hours of operation and what are the hours of your kitchen operates? The hours of operation?
No, español.
¿Cuándo la hora de operación?
Usted es tan mala, y así no que se dice.
Pero yo puedo ir a las 7, de 7 a 4.
He says from, it's supposed to be from 4 to 4, but he's open to 7.
Ya, pues,
Siete a cuatro. Ok, ¿y la cocina también?
No, no cocina, es solamente bebida, cerveza y ron. Sí, no, nothing, no jugo, no, eso, ni, esa complaint, pero no son nuevos, no inquilinos. El hambre dijo, te voy a alquilar porque tú tienes un negocio abajo. Tú lo piensas y dices, ok, no. Me llamó la policía me llamó, yo sé que controlo la música, porque yo sé que arriba hay gente, yo tengo conciencia. Ese día, para que la puerta esté un poco abierta y sale un poco la música. Entonces la policía vino y dijo, ok, no problema. ¿Es ok? Yes, keep like that. Yo lo mantengo así, yo controlo mi música. No DJ, no nothing. Yo sé que los DJ son muchos ruidos. Yo no permito eso porque yo quiero estar ahí. Yo tengo 21 años ahí controlando el negocio.
Pero dale un momentito que alguien puede traducir para las otras personas.
Ok.
Yes, Stephanie.
Oh, me now?
Well, could someone translate?
That's what I just
Yeah,
said. I didn't catch everything you said, right?
Just a gist of
All right,
it. would be
he's
good.
been there 21 years.
There you go.
The landlord, they rented upstairs and that's probably the person who complained.
Okay.
But the
Landlord
landlord did
advised-
tell him that there's a business downstairs, it's open these hours to this hours. However, he said that he's very conscientious of, he controls the music. They called the police on him once and it was because he had the door open, so I guess as the door is open, they hear it upstairs. And they close the door, they lowered the music.
Yeah, he has
And
no,
then-
his 311s are not a concern at all.
And then the police were fine with his level of
That's fine.
music. And after that, that's
Yeah, if
it.
that person didn't come, that's it. They weren't, yeah, that's it.
All right, if there are no concerns or questions.
I'll make a motion to support this
Application.
application.
All right, second, Isaac, second Isaac. All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries.
Tell him he can go home too if he wants. I feel bad.
He's about to, he's operating hours.
Okay, next.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Emmanuel Hernandez, new application for wine and beer and cider license. Number TP 820.23.07802 for restaurant. Wait, no.
That's it.
Oh, that's for the El Barrio Art Space, right? Located 215 East 99th Street. So this is,
Hi, everybody. I am Emmanuel Hernandez.
Hello.
I'm from El Barrio, first of all, thank you guys so much for including me into your agenda. It's been like kind of hassle, you guys know how licensing and temporary permits kind of go with us today, but thank you. I was born and raised here in El Barrio. I go here. I live in art space. I've been there for 8 years and I put up a monthly side event for the community. I've been doing it for 8 years. And every month is a monthly thing, so I have to apply for a temporary beer, wine and cider license permit. And we are only allowed for a year. And if this is monthly, obviously, they give me a little bit of a pushback. I have to come to the community board or go to the 23rd precinct to get a letter of no objection. I'm trying to move fast so that I know everybody wants to get out of here. So yeah, so just for the record, this license number is for October. I just emailed you guys a letter of no objection, Angel and Xavier, for the November event. So if you guys want to check your emails and everything about that letter of no objection, with the new license number. Under processing, they updated their system, so there's another process going on, new process for the SLA, because they have a new update system. So in a nutshell, I just need a letter of no objection, for the events, and it's a little harder because it's not a restaurant, it's not a bar, you know, it's a monthly, event, to engage with the community, and my, audience is much more of a mature crowd.
Yes, yes, it is.
You know, it's a mature crowd, it's not, you know, they come, they enjoy themselves, it's like a big reunion. And they enjoy themselves, they have some food, they dance, and they, they go home, or they go to Willie's Steakhouse in the Bronx. But that's it, pretty much.
Okay.
This is Angel and I spoke about this earlier this week. Thank you for your time, Angel. This is one of those nuanced things where they typically wouldn't have to come unless you exceeded the 4, which is something they, correct me if I'm wrong, Angel, in our conversation, they had changed their policy and how they handle this going forward, and it's not something we deal with on a regular basis, correct? On that?
I have a question for Emmanuel. So after the 4, if that's correct, you're able to do it 4, and then from that point forward, you have to ask for letter of no objection. If the board were to grant you that letter of no objection, how many more times are you able to do it? Or for each event, you have to get a
I
letter
have to get a letter, right? So
each
that's-
time?
Each time, right? So now, the thing too, right, with that is, and now maybe more of a general letter as opposed to every license, so that it
Mhm.
kind of cuts, and then I mean, I understand the process, right? So if we can get a general letter for the year, or, I mean, again, like, the thing with that is, like, again, you have to go through the process, if people want to call, and I
And
get
the
it.
4 is, I'm sorry, Emmanuel,
It's okay.
the 4 is by calendar year
By
or
calendar
12
year.
months? Anything?
The 12, within the 12-month year,
So like if you started in April, is it 12 months from then, or is it just
it's.
2023?
within the year.
So 12 months from when
12
you
months.
first got it?
No,
No, the
Just the
calendar
calendar
year.
Okay. So next year, if you're doing it again, and you exceed your 4, and you're coming back to the board at that point, then your ask would be, to your point, I'm requesting a letter of no objection for the remainder of calendar 2024.
that's correct.
So what you're asking for now is a letter of no objection for the remainder of calendar 2023.
That's amazing that you could do 2024. That'd be great too.
No,
No, I know, I'm
don't
just-
jump the gun.
But yeah,
There you go.
Okay, so we've got Nelson and then Adam.
Well, no, I was gonna suggest that before Angel's question, that why can't, if a general letter can be given for a certain period of time, or so, for a certain number of, asks. But you just answered the question, so it makes sense.
Okay, Adam.
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem, given I think the only thing we should put in that is right, if there's any 3-1s or whatever, then it doesn't even have to be that we take it from him, but that he has to at least come in and there's a process and then we go from there.
Right.
But I don't see a problem with, and it's once a month, right? Yeah, I think you're doing a good thing, so, yeah.
Yes.
I was just gonna clarify that we should be clear that it's once a month, so that you're not doing it every day of the month or anything like that.
Yeah, he's doing a good thing.
All right,
Yeah.
then I will entertain a motion that has those.
I'll make a motion to give him a general letter of no objection to do it once a month, his thing for the remainder of calendar year 2023. With the condition that the board reserves the right to call him in should there be an excessive number of 311s or complaints, in which case then we do reserve the right to revoke that should we find the issues to be substantial.
All right, and Secretary, Giselle, you're second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you, Alicia.
Vote carries.
I know, it's been a long time.
Wonderful. All right, thank you for your patience. This time.
You can leave too.
I am from the.
You can leave.
Okay,
Nicest you've ever been.
all right, so, everyone, one last bit of new business to real quick before we wrap up.
Okay.
All
All
right,
right,
have everyone's attention. for a
it's
second.
basically that for the remainder of 2023, he can do it once a month,
Oh, sorry. that was the-
monthly for the remainder of 2023. But the board reserves the right to call him back in if he has an excessive number of 311s or complaints. And upon that, we reserve the right, should we find those complaints to be justified or excessive, to revoke this letter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. One little bit of information, and then I may just pass it over to Jess for a second. I sent an email to everyone, clarifying, because you've had a lot of emails back and forth. From a particular member, but I wanted to, just with the whole thing with graphics and the bylaws, I think you all know, none of us are perfect in life, but I will follow everything to T. And when we did not achieve quorum in June, and because I called and texted a lot, because we were caught on our back foot, because the mayor only gave us a week's heads up. And they knew they were gonna do this a month in advance. They were forewarned by the governor. But that put us on our back foot. We did not have quorum. And in fact, we were getting close, but then 3 people said, no, actually, I just talked to my wife, we're gone. There were a couple of those. So I think the thing is that we acted in accordance with the bylaws. I consulted with Chief Counsel Tony Bass and City Law because we had Tricia Shimamura, who wanted to know if there's anything contentious. This issue was raised with the particular graphics letter, and they said, yes, if you do pass it, and it is reopened for ratification, that bear in mind, it could be rescinded and not ratified. But that's the only contentious thing, just keep that in mind. We ratified in September, and we remember what happened at communication and during the end of the meeting. We were all tired, we were exhausted, hungry. I just wanted it to be very clear and hear if anyone has any feedback, because I do want to get people home, and there's one other item, but that we did follow the bylaws, and that when you have both city law and the chief counsel of the VP's office, who is our chief counsel, to advise us, said we've done the right thing. I think that's where we should stand firm. Yes, Adana.
No, I mean, I just wanted to say, and everybody, we're all adults, we can all do whatever we want. I think I've seen these communications and I think you've done a good job, but I think my suggestion to everybody here, you can do whatever you want, is not to really do these back and forths anymore, because you're just giving that person now this platform to think that, oh, every time I say something outrageous, I get a big response. I mean, it was this committee that met and we were kind of like discredited a little bit about things without there really being facts. So I think you've been patient and I think you've been understanding. I don't think you need to explain yourself that much.
No, and without saying names, because we will go into executive session, discuss further. I want to keep that.
I didn't name anyone.
We're not gonna go into it. Anyone else on that? The process is purely a process thing.
Yeah, I agree with it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
Well, I
let
was-
me finish his statement.
I was just gonna say, I agree with them. Why don't entertain? Because
Okay.
once you do, it's just,
Same here.
yeah.
I think if anything, people know I'm guilty of having a big heart, and I like. to-
No, you've been too thoughtful.
So-
Yeah.
We have spent weeks.
Okay, Nelson,
Yeah.
Nelson, then I'm gonna pass the baton to Jess.
So I just, correct me if I'm wrong, just a suggestion. This year, my schedule got a little thrown off because I think one of the full boards was changed. Wherever possible, I would suggest that we keep strictly to the schedule if possible. We're all very fortunate enough that we have chairs and we have vice chairs who can conduct our meetings. So in the event that, because I think one full board was changed from a Tuesday to a Wednesday, that I almost didn't make that one. Wherever possible, if one of us can't make it, that, it will be better for us in transparency's sake to try to follow the schedule that everyone is used to having. You know, in the event that you can't make it, Xavier, then you have more than a capable vice chair in Jessica. She would be able to, you know, unless she can't make a meeting either, then she should do the full board. This way, there's no question that we are moving meetings for our benefits. And as opposed to doing it for the community benefit, just because if questions are brought up or people are not clear on the process, anything that changes adds more questions in terms of whether we're doing you know, what we need to do and doing it appropriately.
Thank you, Melissa.
Mhm.
Jess, I'd like to pass it to you. Do you care to go into?
Yeah.
executive, Or do you want to table that? for another night?
I mean, I think we can table it for another night, but just to say that, you know, we met, you know, a week ago and had a, you know, hopefully productive conversation and have been trying to limit the email correspondence, but you know, it's just personally, I feel you know, that the elements of what has happened has been, you know, a little bit divisive and has made people uncomfortable. So I'm just have been concerned about you know, what the process is moving forward, but hopefully that, yeah, we can.
Andrew?
Okay, so since you're tabling, I'll speak, thank you. I say this all the time, and I'll continue to say it all the time. It is very important that we are careful with the way that we speak and the way that we understand each other. In this particular instance, without naming the names, I will name the entire process. And The reason I say that we have to be careful is because we have a responsibilities as leaders of the board to help the rest of the body. And to help the attending public understand, well, just because someone is perhaps confused or choosing to be confused, that does not mean that there's anything untoward within our practice, and certainly not in this instance, and I'll explain. There was an item on the agenda of the April Youth and Education Committee meeting, a discussion was had, and the committee passed a motion recommending a letter of support be provided for graphics. There was a then subsequent conversation at the full board meeting in April. The motion was brought to the floor, there was a vote. The motion did not carry. So there's no position. There was no other motion brought up on that issue at that meeting, so it's just in the air. May passed, the issue was brought back up at the youth committee in June, and again, the youth committee passed a motion recommending a letter of support be provided for graphics. That motion was recommended to the full board was canceled, executive took on all the items in the place of the full board, as is, documented in our bylaws. In a public meeting, the executive committee approved the recommendation from the youth committee. And a letter was sent out. Per the bylaws and per the charter and per open meetings law. Subsequently, all the recommendations of the executive committee, all the positions passed by the executive committee at their June meeting were then on the agenda again at our next full board meeting, which happened to be in September. And in September, the full board ratified all those recommendations, including the letter of support for graphics. Just so we're crystal clear, that's not interpretation, those are the facts.
Yes.
Right? So I'm gonna insert a complaint. This is why we have to have our minutes done all the time. Because when issues come up, when we have the information to look back on, then people can express their opinions, which they're certainly entitled to, but the facts are the facts. And, keep it pushing or stomp or whatever you want to say, that's fine. It's a free country. But it doesn't have to hold up the board's work. And it certainly shouldn't confuse the membership at this table and the rest of the body or the public. If we blow it, then okay, we blow it. But in this instance, nothing was done wrong. And it's very important that that information about our process is understood by us and by the rest of the body so that we can do our work and not be distracted by someone's misunderstanding or choice to misunderstand. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
You're here.
Thank you for the information. With that, I would ask that everyone, if there's ever any questions, I do know that one last thing I'll give you, at Borough Board, CB12 is redoing their bylaws and actually looking at ours because they like them so much that we're very impressed with them. So any of them, take a look and be familiar with all of that. So I appreciate your efforts, and I think I'm gonna.
And I think two more things. It's hilarious how we had multiple lawyers redo our bylaws.
I know, and parliamentarians.
Yeah, it was, I'm like, wow. So there's something stupid that I wanted to share with the body if I could.
Is that a technical term or?
Yeah.
Are we talking, Carlos?
So, the legislative, I'll be quick, I don't wanna go. The legislative process for the council, right, like council members can throw all kinds of stuff out there and, sometimes it's like an idea will kind of get put on paper and it kind of falls apart, doesn't proceed, whatever. So hopefully that's the case in this particular instance. So there's a council member from Queens that has put forward an introduction seeking to set term limits for district managers. So back to the idea of not knowing what you're talking about. No. For borough presidents to enforce term limits on district managers. So back to not knowing what you're talking about.
Right.
So I don't know what motivated this council member. Maybe they're upset about something, perhaps, some personal thing, perhaps.
What's the bill?
Community boards do not work the borough presidents. And the staff of a community board most certainly do not work for a borough president. So anything like this would require a revision of the city charter. So it's absurd on its face. And then that the idea of putting in term limits for an employee, an unelected employee, is,
That's dumb.
I'm pretty sure that's un-American. But I just wanted to share a bit of stupid before we went home.
I wouldn't do work though, if we have to train. You have to teach them everything every.
So with, yes, John.
That is proof positive that anybody can be elected to anything.
I mean.
What do you mean, Donald Trump didn't do
Well, let's put this one verified.
Yeah.
It's elected again, then that better.
Yes.
I need to know what's that bill number, like, I wanna look it up.
I'll email it to you.
Yeah,
Alright.
well, you know, so with that, guys, take a look at the bylaws. We'll bring them up and maybe, you know, tweak as we go along, but this is not an urgent matter. We have addressed and done our work with in abidance and adherence of the bylaws, the charter, and open meetings laws. We'll continue to do so, and it's important that we bring people into the fold and understanding that in a calm and respectful way.
And we'll throw Angel a nice party on that path.
Posted it, Matt.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, all right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Stephanie, motion to adjourn, second by John, and we'll call the roll one last time.
No rules, good rule. Guys, we're all here.
Oh, sorry, tired. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Yes,
There.
all right.
Who, there was